this is part 2 of the reading of Miss Patty It's Batty by, shoot, who is it by? 1 minute. By Dan Gutman, sorry, from the My Weird School series. And yeah, here we go. Sorry about that. That was the wrong page. Okay, here we go. Starting now. 2 giant bananas and 2-headed astronauts. This was the first Halloween that Michael, Ryan, and I were allowed to go trick-or-treating without our parents. We went home to drop off our backpacks and get pillowcases to hold all the candy. Then we met up again at Michael's house. Let's go, Ryan said. If I don't eat a Twizzler in about 5 minutes, I'm gonna die. Not so fast, Michael said, opening up a big map he had drawn. I worked it all out so we'll have the maximum candy accumulation. Wow, big words. Michael should be in the gifted and talented program. Me and Ryan looked at Michael's map. Michael doesn't like to just walk up and down the street collecting candy like a normal kid. He always plans a careful route so that he can go to all the houses that have good candy and not waste any time at houses where people turn off their lights and pretend they're not home. Michael is weird. We'll save Miss Patty's house for last, Michael said. She said she has more candy than anyone in town. Let's go. I was thinking about what Miss Patty had said earlier at school. Do you guys think there really is a Halloween monster? I asked the guys as we headed up the street. Of course not, Michael said. Miss Patty was just yanking our chain. We'd better be careful just in case, Ryan said. We set off on our candy quest. There are lots of kids in weird costumes walking up and down the street. Giraffes, Darth Vaders, 2-headed astronauts, princesses, cowboys, ghosts. 4 kids dressed up as giant bananas. What a freak show. We saw teenagers dressed up like bums. Teenagers always dress up like bums on Halloween. That must be an easy costume to make because teenagers dress like bums even when it isn't Halloween. Trick or treat, we shouted when we got to the first house on Michael's map. A lady opened the door. Ooh, you boys are scary, she said, even though she didn't look scared at all. What are you supposed to be? We're a zombie football player, a zombie hockey player, and a killer zombie penguin, Michael said. From outer space, I added. You can each have a piece of candy, the lady said, holding out a bucket for us. Can we take 2? I asked, grabbing a Milky Way. Well, okay. Can we take 4? I asked, grabbing a Butterfinger. No, the lady said, pulling the bucket back. That lady was mean. We went to the next house and got candy there. Then we went to the house around the corner and got candy there. Before we went to the next house, each of us took a piece of candy out of our pillowcase and ate it. There's no reason to wait till the end of trick-or-treating to start eating your candy. You have to start eating your candy right away so you'll have enough energy to get more candy. That's the first rule of being a kid. Michael led us a few blocks away to the next house on his map. He rang the doorbell, and the weirdest thing in the history of the world happened. A lady answered. Well, that wasn't the weird part because ladies answer the doors all the time. The weird part was who the lady was. She wasn't a regular person. She was Mrs. Cooney, our school nurse. It was weird. I thought Mrs. Cooney lived in the nurse's office, but she lives in a regular house, just like a regular person. Trick or treat, we shouted. Ooh, I'm scared, Miss Cooney said, even though she totally didn't look scared. Mrs. Cooney brought out a bowl filled with apples, carrots, and nuts. Apples, carrots, and nuts? Who gives apples, carrots, and nuts for Halloween? That's health food. You can each take one, Mrs. Cooney said. Do we have to? I asked. Don't you have any candy? Asked Michael. Candy isn't good for you, Mrs. Cooney said. It rots your teeth. I'd rather have rotten teeth than no candy, I said. But we each took a bag of nuts anyway, because it was the closest thing to candy, and we didn't want to hurt Miss Cooney's feelings. She doesn't know the first thing about Halloween. You're not supposed to give out health food. Mrs. Cooney is loony. Luckily, most people gave us candy. But at one house, the man gave us each a quarter instead. He said he ran out of candy. Getting a quarter is almost as good as getting candy because then you can use it to buy candy. We had been trick-or-treating for some time when we walked past a spooky graveyard. That reminded me of the Halloween monster again. Nothing scares me. I would fight a bear. I would fight a lion. I would fight an elephant. Well, I don't think elephants fight, but if one of them did, I would beat it up. But I didn't want to see the Halloween monster. It was starting to get dark and a little scary. Hey, if you guys get chopped up by the Halloween monster, I asked Ryan and Michael, can I have your candy? There's no such thing as the Halloween monster, dumbhead, Michael insisted. But in any case, we made a deal. If one of us gets chopped up by the Halloween monster and the other two survived, they split the dead kid's candy. And if two of us get chopped off, the kid who lived gets all the candy. I wondered if Ryan and Michael were secretly hoping I would get chopped up by the Halloween monster so they could split my candy. I figured they were probably thinking that because I was secretly hoping they would get chopped up by the Halloween monster so I could keep all their candy. It didn't really matter because each of us is filling our pillowcases with about 1,100,000 tins of candy. Mine was getting heavy. It would be hard to eat all that candy in one night. But my mom always tells me I can accomplish anything if I put my mind to it. I better eat some more of this candy, I said. It's getting too heavy to carry. You'd still be carrying it, Michael said. It will just be in your stomach. But it would weigh less in your... I never got to finish my sentence because at that very moment, the most terrifying thing in the history of the world happened. A horrible creature jumped out from behind a wall right in front of us. It was the Halloween monster. Chapter 7, the Halloween monster. Boo! The horrible creature yelled at us. He was waving his hairy arms up in the air. Ah! We screamed. I think the three of us jumped about 10 feet. Take our candy! Take it all! Just don't kill us! Ryan yelled. It was a hideous creature with thick brown hair all over its body. It even had a hairy mask on its face. The only thing the creature was wearing over all that hair was a pair of underwear. Tighty whities. Here's a picture. It looks like Bigfoot. I thought I was gonna die. Are you a Halloween monster? I asked, trembling. No, dumbhead, the thing said as it took off its mask. It's me. It was my friend Billy who lives around the corner. Hey, that costume is cool, I told Billy. What are you supposed to be? Ryan asked. Take a guess, Billy said. A vampire? Guessed Michael. Nope. A werewolf? Guessed Ryan. Nope, said Billy. I'm the underwear-wolf. Ha ha ha, get it? A werewolf in his underwear. Well, the only thing funnier than someone getting someone to say underwear or seeing someone in their underwear is a kid dressed up as a werewolf in his underwear. Billy is weird. Where are you guys heading? He asked us. We're going to 176 Norman Road, Michael said, showing Billy the map. Our school secretary lives there. Oh, you don't want to go there, Billy warned us. That house is haunted. Haunted? We all asked. A chill went down my spine. I had been to haunted houses and amusement parks, but I had never been to a real haunted house. Oh, yeah, Billy said. That lady is a witch. She poisoned her husband, Marvin, and chopped his head off. He came back as a ghost, and he's been driving her insane ever since. She still keeps his head in a bucket down in the basement. How do you know all that? I asked. I know everything, Billy claimed. I'm in the gifted and talented program at my school. Wait a minute, Michael said. Why did she chop his head off if he was already poisoned? For the fun of it, said Billy. I told you she's a witch. I'm warning you, stay away from that house. It's hard for me to imagine Mrs. Patty poisoning her husband or chopping his head off. Every time I get sent to the principal's office, she seems so nice. One time she even gave me a lollipop. I really wanted to see what kind of candy Mrs. Patty was giving out. But if she chopped my head off, I wouldn't be able to eat the candy anyway. I didn't know what to do. I don't believe you, Ryan told Billy. Mrs. Patty isn't a witch. She's got more candy than anyone else in town. That's what she told us. She just told you that, so you'd come to her house, Billy said. Go see for yourself. But don't say I didn't warn you. When she poisons you and chops your head off, don't come running back to me. Billy left. I put a hand over my neck. Maybe Halloween isn't my favorite holiday after all. 8. The most horrible, dreadful, disgusting, repulsive creature that ever walked the earth. Maybe we should go home now, I told Michael and Ryan. We have plenty of candy. Go home, Michael said. Are you crazy? We haven't been to Mrs. Patty's house yet. She has more candy than anyone in town. But what if she chops our heads off? I asked. Stuff like that happens all the time, you know. She's not going to chop our heads off, Ryan said. Your friend Billy doesn't know what he's talking about. Yeah, Michael said. And Miss Patty told us over and over again that we have to trick or treat at her house. She might chop our heads off if we don't show up. Good point. Michael really should be in the gifted and talented program. We kept walking down the street. It was dark now and scary. I was looking all around just in case the real Halloween monster jumped out from behind a wall. Do you think Mrs. Patty's headless husband, Marvin, still lives with her? I asked the guys. Ghosts have to live somewhere, Michael said. Just like regular people, except they're dead. I feel sorry for ghosts, said Ryan. They're like homeless dead people. We turned the corner onto Norman Road, where Mrs. Patty lives. That's when I saw the most horrible, dreadful, disgusting, repulsive creature that had ever walked the earth. It was Andrea Young. She was with her annoying little friend Emily, and they were dressed in their girly costumes. Emily's mom must have sewn the dumb queen outfit together again. What are you two doing here? I asked. We're trick-or-treating, dumbhead, Andrea said, just like you. Andrea and Emily said they were heading for Mrs. Patty's house. I didn't want to walk with them, but it did feel safer with the 5 of us walking together. Finally, we got to 176 Norman Road. It was a big house. It looked really old, like one of those haunted houses in the movies. There was an iron gate on the outside and some dead trees by the driveway. Wow, Andrea said. I didn't know school secretaries lived in mansions. When we got closer, we peeked through the gate and saw Mrs. Patty's Halloween decorations. There were tombstones sticking out of the lawn, a foot poking out of a window. There were jack-o'-lanterns with evil faces, spiders hanging from strings, and cats with eyes that lit up. Smoke was coming out of a big pot. Spooky music was coming out of speakers. There was a dummy sitting on the porch in a chair. I hope it was a dummy anyway. If that thing moved, I decided I was going to make a run for it. This place is creepy, Emily said. Andrea shivered. Miss Patty sure goes all out when it comes to hollow. But she didn't get to finish her sentence because suddenly the front gate squeaked open. No one even touched it or anything. "Come inside," a weird man's voice said, "if you dare." Mrs. Patty's weird house. 9. "Who said that?" Michael asked after we heard the weird man's voice. "Headless Marvin?" "It wasn't a person," Ryan said. "It was one of those computer voices." "Let's get out of here," Emily said, "before it's too late." She sounded like she was about to cry, as usual. I wanted to cry too, but I didn't want to look like a baby. I'm not scared," I said. Me neither," said Michael. We went through the gate and climbed the front steps. You could hardly see anything. Even when I was walking on my tiptoes, the stairs squeaked with every step. I was trying to find the doorbell when I walked into some spider webs. They were all over my face. Yuck! Then I put my foot in something. It was stuck. I couldn't get it out. Ah! I screamed, shaking my foot. "You stepped in a pumpkin head, dork," said Andrea. "I knew that," I said, finally shaking my foot free. "Anyone time someone tells me you did something dumb, always act like you did it on purpose. That's the first rule of being a kid." Ryan rang the doorbell. It played funeral music. I was hoping no one would be home, but soon we heard footsteps and the front door slowly creaked open. I held my breath. It was Mrs. Patty. She was still dressed in her witch costume. At least she didn't have an act. "Aha," she said in her scary voice. "My last group of trick-or-treaters is here." I love your Halloween decorations, Miss Patty," said Andrea, who never misses a chance to nose a grown-up. "What decorations?" said Miss Patty asked. "My house always looks like that." I was really sweating now. "We better go," I said. "It's way past our bedtimes." "Isn't there something you want to say first?" Miss Patty asked. "Yeah," I said. "How does that wart stay on your nose?" "You're supposed to say trick or treat," Miss Patty said. "Oh," we all said. "Trick or treat." "Before I give you candy," she said, "you must pass a test." "That's not how it goes," Michael said. "All we have to do is say trick or treat and you give us candy. Then we leave. That's the way it's supposed to work." "Not here," cackled Miss Patty. "Do you want the candy or not?" "Okay, okay," Ryan said. "What's the test?" "If you go out trick-or-treating and they give out Twix bars at 10 houses and Nestle Crunch 5 houses and Baby Ruth bars at 7 houses, how many candy bars do you have altogether?" Hey, that was totally not fair. Mrs. Patty was trying to turn trick-or-treating into math class. All day long we have to learn reading and writing and math. My brain is tired after school. I shouldn't have to do more school, teacher. Oh, schoolwork. Mrs. Patty isn't even a real math teacher. She's a secretary. 22, Andrea answered right away. You'll have 22 candy bars altogether. That is correct, Miss Patty said as she turned around. Come in. The candy is down in the basement. Down in the basement? Why couldn't she just keep a bowl of candy in the front hallway like normal people? Mrs. Patty is batty. I didn't want to go down in Mrs. Patty's basement. I didn't want to see her husband's head in a bucket down there. Figured that Andrea had to be so good at math. If it weren't for her, we could have left. Mrs. Patty opened the door and told us to go down the steps. It was dark. I could hardly see anything except some skulls on the walls with candles inside them. When we got to the bottom, we had to walk through a winding hallway. There were doors going off in different directions. I didn't see any candy anywhere. We weren't sure which way to go. We're lost, Andrea said. Ow, Emily said. I hit my head on something. Let's turn around and make a run for it, I said, before it's too late. I'm scared, Michael said. I think I'm going to pee my pants, Ryan said. And if I die, Andrea told Emily. You can have my candy. You're a true friend, said Emily. You can have my candy if I die. I wish they would both die. I didn't even care if I got the candy or not. I came to a sign at the end of the hallway. There was a door. A sign on the door said, Candy in here. I put my hand on the doorknob. Don't open that door, Michael said, just as I was about to turn the knob. Why not? I asked. In horror movies, Michael explained, whenever someone opens a door, a crazy guy wearing a mask leaps out with an axe or something. Don't be silly, Ryan said. Open the door, AJ. We'll get the candy and get out of here. I looked at Ryan. Emily looked at Andrea. Michael looked at me. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. I had to think fast. So I opened the doorknob. Do you want to know what was behind that door? Well, I'm not going to tell you. Okay, fine, I'll tell you. But you have to read the next chapter. So Nana Nana Boo Boo to you. 10. Marvin the Headless Mummy. Behind the door was a long, big, dark room, and it was full of kids. And I couldn't see much, but I recognized Neil the noob kid and Annette and some other kids from this art class. They were just sitting there, like they were waiting for us. It was weird. In the middle of the room was a big trunk. It was like one of those trunks that pirates use to hide their treasure. What's in the... But he never got a chance to finish his sentence because suddenly the top of the trunk lifted up. A hand pushed it up and a thing got out. It was a mummy with bandages all over its body. But the weird thing was the mummy didn't have a head. Well, it had a head. But the head wasn't on top of the shoulders where it was supposed to be. The mummy was holding the head in its hands like a football. Eek! Screamed Emily. It's Marvin, I shouted. Mrs. Patty's dead husband. His ghost come to life. He's the Halloween monster, Ryan yelled. We're gonna die, Michael screamed. I told you. We should have made a run for it, I shouted. Wahahaha, said Marvin's head. I had no idea how it was able to talk, but it did. It said, Give me our candy. Put everything in the trunk, or else. The head didn't have to ask me twice. I ran over and dumped all the candy from my pillowcase into the trunk. So did Ryan and Michael and Andrea and Emily and Neil, the nude kid, and Annette. Guess that mummy made all the kids turn over the candy because there was 1,100,000 candy bars in that trunk. Bwahaha, said Marvin's head as Marvin danced around the trunk. It's mine, all mine. Now at long and last I have more candy than anyone in town. My life is complete. Wahahaha. That's what you think. We all turned to see who said that. A big guy stepped out of the shadows at the other end of the hall. He had a crown on his head and a sword in his hand. It was Mr. Klutz, our school principal. It is I, he said, pointing his sword at Marvin the Mummy. King Louis XIV, in the name of France, surrender the candy. Over my dead body, said Marvin. That was really weird. Everyone knows mummies are dead bodies to begin with. Marvin grabbed a sword off the wall with the hand he wasn't using to hold his own head. Then he and Mr. Klutz started sword fighting, just like in the movies. It was cool. Get him, Mr. Klutz, we all shouted. Kill the Halloween monster. Mr. Klutz and Marvin were dancing around, swinging their swords at each other. Off with your head, Mr. Klutz said, taking a wild swing. His head is already off, someone shouted. Oh, Mr. Klutz said. Let him eat cake. The sword fight was really exciting. Finally, after 100 million minutes, Mr. Klutz knocked the sword out of the Halloween monster's hands. Please have mercy, Marvin said as he fell to his knees. Begone, Mr. Klutz said. Don't ever steal candy from the children of elementary school again. I'll get you, my pretty, said the Halloween monster as it ran up the stairs. And your little dog, too. Don't even have a dog, Mr. Klutz said. After the Halloween monster ran away, Mrs. Patty came downstairs. Hooray for Mr. Klutz, she yelled. We all started cheering. I have defeated the Halloween monster, said Mr. Klutz. I mean, Louis XIV. We should celebrate, said Miss Patty. Let's have a candy party. Yeah, we all yelled. Mr. Klutz and Miss Patty tipped over the trunk chest and dumped all the candy on the floor. We were allowed to eat whatever we wanted and take the rest home. I ate so much candy, I thought I was going to throw up. It was the greatest night of my life. After eating all that candy, I couldn't fall asleep for 100 million hours. I just lay there in bed thinking about all the cool stuff that had happened. Maybe Mrs. Patty does keep her Halloween decorations up all year round. Maybe her husband, Marvin, really is dead. Maybe she did chop his head off and turn him into a mummy. Well, maybe that's why he's so mad and he has to run around the house holding his own head. Maybe now that he's lost the sword fight to Mr. Klutz, he'll be nicer and stop taking kids' candy. Maybe Marvin and Mrs. Patty will get back together and be normal people again, even though one of them is dead. And maybe Mrs. Patty will be able to get that wart off her nose. But it won't be easy. Okay, that's it. Thank you for listening to this. I know it's a pretty weird, kind of dumb little story, but I thought it was funny. So anyway, thanks. Bye.